Lurkers explores the dark side of the online world. It contains adult themes and disturbing content for mature audiences only.
It's 6 a.m. in Marquette, Michigan. There's still traces of snow outside and only stillness in the house. A mother wakes to a single vibration from her son's phone. A short message. "Mother, I love you so much." She pauses, perplexed, then texts him back. "Jordan." Silence. She continues. "Are you okay?" No reply. Across town, Jordan's girlfriend Kia wakes up too. Her phone lights up with a message she can't quite understand. Jordan tells her he's made a mistake and that he's sorry. He says he can't keep going. Panic sets in for Kia. She calls. Straight to voicemail. She calls again. Nothing. Back in Jordan's home, his father looks out the front window. The car is there, parked, unmoved. He walks slowly, almost unwillingly, toward the stairs, each step heavier than the last. He turns the corner, his hand hovering over the door. He pushes it open, and the hinges groan, then reaches for the switch, and with a click, the room is flooded with light. And the world collapses into silence as he finds his son, lifeless from a gunshot wound. In a world where connection is effortless, every click feels safe, but online, trust can be deceiving. This is Lurkers, true stories of trust, desire, and how technology, if unchecked, can turn it all against us. Before that painful morning of March 25th, 2022, Jordan DeMay was a happy kid heading to school and goofing with friends. He had that kind of gravity, 6 feet tall, with an easy smile and energy that spilled into every room. Homecoming king, an athlete. According to Hulu's Impact by Nightline, his girlfriend Kia remembered that, quote, "He was always dancing, always singing. He just had this joy about him," end quote. Friends and football teammates said the same. As one of them put it, quote, "He was the loudest in the room. Everybody knew Jordan," end quote. Their words paint the picture of a kid who seemed unstoppable, the kind of person who made others feel like they belonged. He had a public Instagram, like most kids do. Photos with friends, a selfie with his girlfriend Kia, comments from classmates, and his beaming smile with family and teammates. Then, one night, a DM from a pretty girl. Her username, Danny Roberts. The message, "Hey, we have some friends in common." And here is where the conversation sparks. Light, flirty. Jordan hesitates, but she incites him to send some nude photos. And he does. That's when the girl shifted. A new message appeared. "I have screenshot all your followers and tags. Can send these nudes to everyone and also send your nudes to your family and friends until it goes viral. All you have to do is to cooperate with me and I won't expose you." Jordan stammered in the chat. He was in shock and, with utmost fear, he replies, "How much?" She writes back, $1,000. Jordan knows he's unable to send this amount. After all, he's just a teenager. So he tries to reason. He sends $300, but the messages become more forceful. Then another 20, and another 30, but it isn't enough. So Jordan types, "I'll kill myself right now because of you." The reply, "Good. Do that fast." "6 hours. That's how long it took to push a 17-year-old from panic to despair. But when your entire world is filtered through a screen, friends, love, reputation, exposure doesn't feel survivable. It feels fatal. Hours later, Kia is at school still worried about the cryptic message Jordan left her earlier that morning. She sits in class when an office staff member opens the door. The ask is for her. She steps into the office and sees her parents with tears in their eyes. She knows, and she melts to the floor. Later that same day, while still in shock, Kia discovered new messages waiting for her. She randomly saw a direct message on Instagram with Jordan's explicit photos, and they threatened to send them to her family and friends. She was terrified. The only thing that kept lingering in her mind was, "Why are you doing this?" So Kia does what most teens wouldn't. She tells her parents, and they act immediately. The DeMays and Kia's family go to the Marquette County Sheriff's Office. The suicide turned into a homicide. Marquette County Sheriff Greg Siebert said to ABC News, quote, "We were able to get her phone and follow the IP address. At that point, it's a matter of officers starting to follow the breadcrumbs," end quote. They subpoenaed Instagram to pull the platform's records and zeroed in on Jordan's conversations with Danny Roberts. And they see it all. The opening flirt, the switch to extortion, the threats, and the PayPal receipts. They soon realized this wasn't just some lone catfish in a basement. "400 miles away in Ohio, another boy's phone lights up. His name was James Timothy Woods. It's November 19, 2022, 8 months after Jordan's death. James was 6'2", a track athlete, a hurdler who friends believed was set for a record-breaking senior season. According to Hulu's Nightline, he also loved anime, chess, and video games. He was both driven and playful, a kid who could spend hours perfecting a hurdle, then unwind by diving into a game, or drawing inspiration from a favorite anime series. His friends remember the impact he had. Teammate Jordan Little put it simply, quote, "James left a huge mark on not only the track team, but the school in general," end quote. And classmate Omari Steve told the program, quote, "He was hilarious, always trying to make everyone better, including himself," end quote. James's presence was felt everywhere, at practice, in classrooms, in the lives of the people who knew him best. And at home, he was the center of a tight circle. His father, Timothy Woods, told Nightline, quote, "He had the best life that we could give him. He had a really good sense of humor. He was always smiling and laughing," end quote. His mother, Tamia, said he was the kind of son who noticed the small things, who stayed close to his family, even as teenage independence pulled at him. But one evening, James got a message from what looked like a teenage girl. A short chat. She flirted. She made him feel chosen. Then she asked him to do something intimate, just once, just for her. Vulnerable and caught in the moment, James agreed. And then the trap closed. The message read, "Send $3,000 or I'll release this to everyone you know." They wanted gift cards, thousands of dollars worth, and the messages kept coming. Not 5 or 10, hundreds. Each notification a spike of fear, each buzz another shove into panic. His mother, Tamia Woods, later described what those hours looked like. Quote, "They send James 200 messages in 19 and a half hours. 200 messages saying you're nothing, you're hopeless, will make your life a living hell. You might as well end it now. Where's our money?" He said, "Stop. I told you I didn't have a job. Why are you doing this to me? All for one picture. These people are professional con artists. Every day, I told my son I loved him, and in 19 and a half hours, they convinced him otherwise. It's a mind game. You all are targets. They want your money. They want $10. They want $20. They want $100, and they don't care if you're not here. We need you here." End quote. By morning, it was too late. James Timothy Woods was gone. Another teenager targeted by the same trap, caught in the same storm. And at this point, investigators began to realize these weren't isolated tragedies. They were connected. The same methods, the same patterns, the same faceless accounts pressing teens toward the edge. "13 months after James, on December 30th, 2023, in Dunblane, Scotland, 16-year-old Murray Dowie was settling into an ordinary winter evening with his family. He was a season ticket holder at Stirling Albion, football mad, easygoing, and helpful, with a dry sense of humor that cracked his parents up at dinner. The kind of boy who'd carry the groceries in without being asked, and then vanish to his room with a grin and a match replay. Just a normal family of 5, as his mum would say. But that evening, they were together downstairs, chatting, watching rubbish on TV. Festive days between Christmas and New Year, nothing out of the ordinary. Murray went up to his room. Safe. Home. According to BBC News, his mother, Rose Dowie, remembered it plainly. Quote, "By the next morning, we were 4, with a huge Murray-shaped gap that's never going to go away." End quote. As ITV News reported, his father, Mark Dowie, recalled, quote, "I was sitting watching the football, then Rose screams like I've never heard. One of the reasons it's so devastating is it comes into your house exactly where he should have been safest." End quote. Because on the hours before, someone online posed as a girl his age, coerced an intimate image, and turned it into leverage, rapid threats, precision-timed panic. By morning, Murray was gone. For 2 weeks, Police Scotland worked to confirm what happened. Then the word, sextortion. Detectives opened an inquiry and liaised with authorities in West Africa. It was shocking because it was ordinary. A winter night, a boy who loved football, strangers who never set foot in the house, and still found a way in. Back in Marquette, with Jordan's name still heavy in the air, Kia walks into the sheriff's office with Danny Roberts' messages still glowing on her phone. Remember this? This is where we pick up the thread. From Kia's phone, the trail widened. According to Nightline, the FBI's Detroit field office saw the same pattern in case after case. Messages traced to West Africa, specifically Nigeria. FBI Special Agent in Charge Jim Tarasca described years of relationship building with Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. He said the cooperation was outstanding, crucial to tackling financial sextortion across borders. Working with Marquette County and state investigators, agents followed usernames, IP addresses, and app records. Then, the infamous Instagram handle named in the U.S. indictment, Danny Roberts, surfaced in the logs. Federal prosecutors said 3 men in Lagos were behind it: Samuel Agashi, Samson Agashi, and Ezekiel Ajehem Robert, linked to more than 100 victims across the U.S. In court coverage captured by Nightline, Jordan's mother, Jennifer Dumais Buddha, made the long drive to Grand Rapids. She said, quote, "It's important for me to be here. This is Jordan's story. I need to be there and represent him. I am his mom." End quote. Later, after hearing the chat logs read out loud, she said, quote, "They basically tortured Jordan for hours and kept taunting him to take his own life." End quote. As per the Department of Justice, the Agashi brothers were extradited from Nigeria and later sentenced to 210 months in federal prison for a scheme that targeted more than 100 victims, including at least 11 minors. A Nigerian court subsequently ordered Ezekiel Roberts' extradition. That order was appealed in Nigeria. And the scale isn't abstract. Nightline's reporting cites the FBI with more than 7,000 reports of child sextortion in 2022, with agents warning the real number is far higher. By mid-2023, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had already logged more than 12,500 reports and called it an epidemic. So just to give you a better view of this problem, according to law enforcement interviewed by Nightline, many sextortionists in Nigeria are in their 20s, pulling in $200 to $300 per victim per night. In Lagos, where the average monthly wage is about $666, one teenager's panic could equal half a month's income. Reporters often use a label, the BM Boys, for the Nigeria-based extortion ecosystem that prosecutors tied to Jordan's case. For James and Murray, investigators and journalists document the same playbook: fake teen profile, coercion, rapid threats, but no public record has named the exact crew behind their cases. The methods match, the attribution by name does not. Then there's what comes after. Nightline followed Tim and Tamia Woods, James's parents, as they turned grief into a roadmap for other families. In the 11 months after James's death, they delivered more than 80 presentations at middle schools and high schools, speaking to students, counselors, and parents. In school gyms and auditoriums, Tamia Woods tells students, as captured by Nightline, quote, "Words hurt my son. They told him to kill himself, and he did. He was strong and smart and brave, but my baby couldn't conquer being tortured." End quote. And to parents, she added, quote, "If it could happen to us, a 2-parent household, active in our child's life, it can happen to anybody." End quote. It's painful. 3 names, 3 families, 1 pattern that crosses oceans and Wi-Fi routers. For parents, vigilance isn't a posture, it's a practice. talk early, talk often, and make sure your kid knows there's no shame in asking for help. You see, we live inside small screens now. They feel private, like bedrooms with the door shut. But a message can cross an ocean without making a sound. A DM can be a key someone else already holds. Because even as arrests were made, the problem didn't vanish. New profiles keep appearing. New kids keep getting pulled in. At scale, this isn't danger, it's devastation. They didn't just blackmail for money. They broke spirits. They weaponized shame. They don't see a son or a parent on the other end. Just the next $300. And here's the truth that's hardest to hear and most important to keep. Exposure isn't the end of a life. Even if an image is sent, it is not the end of your world. You can outlive a screenshot. You can't outlive silence. Platforms have work to do. Make safety the default. Move at the speed of harm. But the way out starts at home. When panic hits, put the phone down. Find someone you trust. Say it out loud. The shame is for the criminal, not yours. If we could speak to the boys in this story, we would say that their parents said without hesitation, "This wouldn't have been the end of your world. We would have carried you through it." Because one mistake is survivable. So pause, power off, block, save for evidence, tell, and report. Then, if panic tips into despair, call the crisis line where you live. Someone will pick up. This is the thing. What makes these predators so effective is how ordinary they seem at first. They copy slang, steal profile pictures, borrow names that look familiar. They know the apps, the games, the hours kids are online, and the pressure points of reputation and fear. The playbook is practiced. Start friendly, move fast, then shift to threats. And when shame takes hold, silence does the rest. Remember Jordan DeMay. Remember James Timothy Woods. Remember Murray Dowie. We'll keep saying their names and keep the line open. Because social media isn't good or bad, just a tool. It's the choices that the lurkers make behind the screens. Stay aware, stay present, stay safe. This episode of Lurkers was written by me, Frank Battiston, research and story development by Julia Lawrence, and production and sound design by Daniel Erdenevia. If this story shook you to your core, like it did us, share it with someone you love and tell them why. Your ratings and reviews help others discover these stories, and every share helps keep their voices alive. Follow Lurkers on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you'll be here for the next one. Thank you for listening.